How do we come up with social research ideas? We do social research for different reasons. There are times when we engage with research passively. If you're a student or a professional researcher, you may be asked to conduct a research study to fulfill your role requirements. In this case, you may need to come up with research ideas from scratch or develop them based on the guidelines provided by your teachers, supervisors, organizations, or funders. There are also times when we engage with research actively because we want to do so. This could be motivated by our personal or professional interests, or we may have observed a problem or opportunity that can be addressed by social research. As I've explained in the video, why do we conduct social research? Social research can be used for understanding social experiences and phenomena, solving problems, improving our quality of living, and examining if things work. No matter if you've already got some ideas about what's research to work on, or you are facing a blank sheet, this video is to support you to develop and refine your research focus. Here I suggest 3 steps. Explore research topics. Map the existing literature. Think in your own context. The first step is to identify one or more research topics, so that you have some starting points for further exploration. I propose 3 types of sources to find out your research topics. The first one is your professional and personal interest. As you are going to spend much time on your research project, why don't you choose a topic that is interesting and meaningful to you? When my students were conducting cost-effectiveness analysis, they were asked to apply it to any arenas. Some students used their workplace scenarios to develop their analysis, so that the efforts in the academic assignment also served their professional development. Some students chose topics from their daily lives. One student was comparing the cause and effectiveness of different ways of brewing a cup of coffee. Another one was applying the analysis to compare different means of transportation. Should I drive, take a bus, or ride a bike? The second type of sources concern the latest research trends. If you want to join other researchers to work on the hot topics, I suggest checking out 3 types of publications from the academic journals. The first one is the review papers published in the past few years. You may consider looking into the systematic reviews, scoping reviews, bibliometric analysis, and other review papers. These papers have analyzed the literature that fits into their selection criteria. From the selected articles, they paint a picture of what research has been done and what research is needed. I'm not suggesting you to give your full trust in the analysis and findings, but you're reading these papers for ideas. Google Scholar is a good platform to look for papers. It is free, and it includes different types of literature. Feel free to look into any articles that you find interesting and inspiring. The second one is the editorial notes. From time to time, the editorial teams of journals will publish their comments on the latest developments in the fields, and what papers they want the authors to write and submit. You can learn about the latest research interests there. The third one is the calls for paper. Some journals would post on their websites about what research topics they're going to work on, and invite authors to submit the work. These calls show you what topics the journal editors think are worth investigating. The third type of idea sources is what's happening around you. You may find your ideas from the news in the newspaper or on social media, or from what you have observed in your communities. The main goal of the first step is to identify research topics that you would like to work on. It may only take you a few seconds to come up with your ideas, or you may want to do some reading and observation to set your initial directions. When you have come up with one or more research topics, the next step is to explore what research has been done in these areas. You may use Google Scholar or other databases provided by institutes to search for the related journal articles. Examples of multidisciplinary databases for social sciences include EBSCOhost, ProQuest, ScienceDirect, Scopus, and Web of Science. To begin with, you may simply key in your research topics as the search terms, or use any terms you find relevant from your knowledge and from your reading of literature in step 1. You do not need to read all the articles that you have found. You just need to screen the titles of the literature and choose those that seem to be relevant and read the abstracts. When you've found the articles that are likely to inform your research, then you may want to screen the contents. Remember that social research is about creating new knowledge. In the second step of mapping the existing literature, your mission is to identify where you can contribute to create new knowledge. When you read the literature, you have three goals. First is to learn about what problems the research was addressing. Second is to learn about how the studies were designed to address the problems. Third is to identify an area where you can further contribute. For the first goal, you're learning from others about what problems are affecting people that are worth investigating. What were the problems? What contributed to these problems? What were the impacts? Why did they matter? Aside from learning about the problems, you're also learning from the researchers about how to describe the problems to justify the needs of your own research. For your own research, you may choose to focus on one of the problems that you've come across that you believe you can add new knowledge, or you may identify an area that has not yet drawn much attention but is worth investigating. For the second goal, you're seeing how people designed and presented their research. What research objectives and questions were guiding the studies? What theories and concepts have been adopted to frame the research? Who were the target groups? What were the data collection methods? How did the researchers use the data to respond to their objectives and questions? The third goal is to identify an area where you can help create new knowledge. To stimulate your thinking, you can ask yourself, do I agree with the researchers' perspectives and approaches? Did the research design and findings successfully answer the research questions? Are the research approaches and findings still relevant to the current situations? Could there be other ways to make sense of the problems that have not yet been explored in the studies? Would there be other theories, concepts, and frameworks that are more suitable to address the problems? Would there be other social groups who are facing similar problems and would benefit from your research? Could you think of other research types to address the problems from another angle? Are there contradictory findings that you are curious about? The second step of mapping the existing literature is to identify research gaps and collect some initial ideas to design your own research. The third step is to think in your own context to consider what is feasible to you. Let's say if you have identified a new target group that would benefit from your research. Do you think you can collect data from this group with the time and resources that you have? How many of them could you reach? Will they be willing to participate? Would this data size be enough for your analysis? Is there any support you can solicit to reach out to this group? Will you really need new data, or you can simply rely on existing records, for example, the existing databases, reports, journal articles, and work logs that you can access? In this video, I've proposed 3 steps for brainstorming and refining your research ideas. The best ideas are those that can create new and useful knowledge and are manageable with your time and resources. What is new knowledge? You can check it out in the video, What is Social Research?